each day and walk 2 miles every day for 2 weeks. And I'll call you in 14 days and we'll see how it's going. So Ole left, and sure enough, 2 weeks goes by and the counselor picks up the phone and he calls Ole and he says, "Ole, how's the relationship with Lena going? What's going on? Is it getting better?" And Ole says, "How would I know? I'm 28 miles away from home." So in that story, Ole was off track, and our nation, our beloved United States of America, is off track. And as you travel this country, as I do now, almost every day in the heartland of America and elsewhere, you see the sounds and sights and voices of good, hard-working people in our country saying they're worried about the future. They don't believe necessarily that our country is headed in the right direction. They don't believe that our country is being led in the right way. And I'll give you just one measure of it. The Wall Street Journal and NBC did a poll recently where they asked people, what country do you think will be the dominant country in the world in just 20 years? What do you think the answer was? China. And they weren't asking the Chinese. They weren't asking the Europeans. They asked the people in the United States of America, our fellow citizens, what country do you think will be the dominant country? And they said, China. America's place in the world is not following China or any other country in anything. America's place in the world is to lead the world in everything. So I want to share with you some thoughts about how we do that. And the challenges in front of us are difficult, but the solutions are not complex. They're actually quite easy. We know what made this country great. We need to remind each other and the rest of this country and our fellow citizens what those values, what those principles are, and we need to bring them forward into our time and make sure we use them to meet the challenges of our time. Now, when you think about somebody who wants to be President of the United States, one of the things you want to know is, who is this person? What do they believe? What's that based on? Can we really count on him or her to make sure they do what they say they're going to do? And for me and with all of you, part of that is where you were raised and how you were raised and what you were taught and what you learned along the way. I grew up in a meatpacking town in South St. Paul, Minnesota. Maybe some of you are old enough to remember, but back in the day, in the 1960s or so, it was the home of some of the world's largest stockyards and meatpacking plants, these mammoth swift and armored meatpacking plants and related activities. And you can imagine the sights and sounds and smells of a town being dominated by just thousands and thousands and thousands of people working in these big plants. Sadly, those plants shut down pretty summarily in the late 60s and early 70s. In my community, lots, hundreds, thousands of moms and dads laid off from their job with an unclear economic future. So at a young age, I saw the face of people worried about the economy, worried about job loss, worried about their futures and their family's future. I saw that up close. My dad, for much of his life, was a truck driver. Later in his life, he got promoted to be a dispatcher. My family thought we had won the jackpot, with the lottery when he got promoted to dispatcher. When I graduated from school, my first paycheck for the year was more money than he ever made in